Hello, and welcome to the Dublin Arsenal podcast, renamed from the Irish Arsenal Gunner podcast last week to coincide with our YouTube channel. So I hope you appreciate the name change. I'm your host, as always, Jonathan Giles, and as always, I'm joined by my weekly guests and contributors throughout the season. Ian Gunnery, how are you, pal?
All good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, pal. And as always, Eamon Donnelly, how are you, pal?
Evening, Jonathan. Evening, Ian. I just finished the Buttons Easter egg there. Got very well with a cup of tea there. Yesterday I had a big black magic one. That goes great with the Bacardi and Coke there. Tonight I'll finish off the Terry's Orange one. Terry's Orange. I might have a Jaeger bomb with that. Jaeger bomb goes great with Easter eggs there. You need a Jaeger bomb after yesterday's game there.
That is the mix.
How you doing?
Thanks for coming on, lads. I hope you have had a good long weekend. It's great to see the bright evenings coming back.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
Yeah, it's when you look behind Eamon there, it's been black for the last few months, so you can see a bit of daylight again. Saves
on the darkness of my world.
We're seeing the bright light again, thank God. Up on the screen, sorry. You can catch our show on YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Check out our sister show, Beyond the Last Man, with Martin Stumble, as always. Thanks to Martin, as always, for putting the show together. Without him, there wouldn't be a show, so thanks again. Check out our sponsor, Balon Sports Direct, our newest sponsor to our show. They've got a good range of ironing gear.
Jonathan, so you're going missing all the time.
You can hear me, can you?
I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, super. Check out our friends over at justarsenal.com, Pat McLaughlin and co. And as always, go check out the River Bar in Dublin City Centre, where you can catch all our matches throughout the season. On to last week's stats. 102 views for last week's show. 7 likes. And we've got 2,960 subscribers now. So that's up 30 from last week. So we're getting closer to the 3,000 mark. On this week's show, we'll be reviewing our 2-2 draw from yesterday against Liverpool. Previewing our fixture this coming Sunday against Westham, which is 2:00 on Sky Sports. And talking about the under-18s who reached the U Cup final there last week with a 2-1 win over Man City. So straight into the review from yesterday. Goals on 8 minutes from Martinelli and on 28 from Gabriel Jesus, and Salah and Firmino got the goals for Liverpool. That was Firmino's 10th goal against Arsenal. As Eamon said last week, he always seems to score, and so does Salah. So they continue their scoring streak against us. I suppose the main talking points as well from the match, from what I took down myself, as I said just a few moments ago, 2 up after half an hour, and we're doing fairly well up to then. I didn't think Liverpool were causing us problems. If anything, I think from scoring early, we silenced the Anfield fans, and I thought we really came out of the blocks, and I think we shocked Liverpool in a way. You know, as bad as Liverpool have played this season, I think we shocked them, you know, in their own ground. And it was up until the 42nd minute when Xhaka got in with that scuffle with Alexander-Arnold. I think that really did rile up the crowd, and you could feel it then. The intensity rose. I think literally 60 seconds later, I think Salah scored for Liverpool to make it 2-1. And then into the second half, Holding clipped Jota, or 54 is it? He clipped Jota in the box for a penalty, and thankfully Salah missed, because if that went in, it could have really changed the game in Liverpool's favour. But Saka had a corner then where he got booked, and it met Gabriel beautifully, and he just, sadly, it was straight at Alisson either side of him, and it could have, you know, probably would have went on to win it. In fairness, you know, it was that pivotal point in the game. But Firmino scored a header from Nutmeg and Zinchenko. Probably a bit tired, Zinchenko. Wouldn't put all the blame on me, you know. He put in some shift yesterday, and it was a great cross, in fairness. And Firmino does what he does, doesn't he? He just seems to pop up when he comes off the bench. But I have to say, my man of the match, hands down, has to be Ramsdale. He made two outstanding saves during the game, but those two from Salah, and then a few moments after from Konate, were just world class. Remind me of Seaman against Pesky Solido all them years back against Sheffield United. But the last time he won at Anfield was 2012. Podolski and Cazorla and Arteta was in that team, but I thought we deserved to win yesterday, being honest. I thought we should have really put them to bed when we were 2-up. But here, look, these things happen, but I think it's a point gained rather than 2 lost. I'll go to you, Eamon, your view from yesterday.
Yeah, well, the first thing is, there's no such a thing as a bad point at Anfield, right? It might be disappointing that we were 2-up and we couldn't see it out. But if we'd have gone to Anfield in October and gotten a point, everybody would have been saying, look how far we've come, you know? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, we were exceptional in the first 30 minutes. We had them all over the place, right? And you have to remember, that team hasn't conceded a goal at Anfield in 2023. And we carved them open, right? Liverpool haven't been playing great this season, but their form at Anfield has been very, very good. 3rd best in the league. They've beaten Manchester City. They've beaten Newcastle. They've beaten Manchester United, right? So I think that the incident with Xhaka has been overplayed, I think, because I'll tell you why. He should have got a free kick. Stupid reaction. Okay, the crowd got up. Well, there's 11 players on the pitch. So you've got to be able to say, well, okay, Granite's lost it a little bit there. Other players have to step in and make sure that we don't go backwards, right? And what happened was, we just start going backwards a little bit. Now, I would actually blame the shift in momentum, not on the Granit Xhaka incident, more so on the way we defended the first goal. And I love him as a player. He reminds me, he's as good as Mesut Ozil was when Mesut Ozil was at his best. Martin Odegaard is a terrific player, but he's a liability defensively. So if you look at the goal, Curtis Jones gets the ball, makes an incision into the box. Odegaard is running with Andy Robertson, gets as far as the defensive line and stops. You can't do that. You've got to keep running with him. You've got to keep running with him. You're not going to play him on side because you're running side by side. But he's got to run with him. He doesn't. He stops. And then Robertson gets in a cross. There's a touch of fortune about the goal and all of that stuff. Okay. The second half, unfortunately, we ran into a storm. Now, I have to tell you, and this is not whinging, the referee didn't give us much. And what I mean by that is, people say Liverpool won a lot of the duels in the second half. In my mind, they won a lot of them unfairly, and he just went play on. He gave Ben White a yellow card for what I thought was a terrific tackle. Fabinho did one the very same in the second half. He didn't get one. Andy Robertson fouled Bukayo Saka 6, 7, 8 times. None of them were bad fouls. But you can't be persistently fouling like that and not get a yellow card. And he would have been off. He would have been off, you know. So the usual, we didn't get much from the referee. Fabinho was going around all day clumping people, and sure, look, that went unpunished. But the one thing, when we were going backwards, there's 2 things I want to say. Firstly, Martin Odegaard is not the player you need on the pitch when we're going backwards. You need him on the pitch when we're trying to break down the opposition. And I just thought, and I said, this is not a criticism of Martin Odegaard. I think he's a brilliant player and he's a brilliant captain, right? I just thought yesterday was the day we should have sacrificed him a bit earlier than we did and try and get, you know, if we're not going to be able to play the ball through patterns in midfield because they're going on as like a steam train, and they're capable of doing that. Look what they did to Manchester United, right? They're capable of doing that. Then we needed to try something a little bit different, and I thought maybe Smith Rowe coming on might have been a bit different, right? We don't know how fit he is, but if he's on the bench, he should be consideration. The other thing I'd say is we had two brilliant situations to win the game. Like Martinelli had, a shoe-in pass to Saka to win the game. And we really, if he gets that right, Saka ain't going to miss 1-on-1. He'd dance around the goalkeeper. And we were still trying to win the game. Ramsdale was outstanding. He was just outstanding. That save from Salah was just nothing short of unbelievable. Because in real time, it's going in. It's going in. So look, I think the one last thing I'd say is we have to accept we're not playing with Saliba and Gabriel. And brave and all as Rob Holding was, we play a much lower line when he's playing because we don't trust his pace. So we were allowing them to just have the momentum on us, and we can't come out with the ball the way we come out with the ball with Saliba. So all things being equal, I thought the draw was a fair result. I don't accept that we got away with it because the penalty was soft. It was soft.
He was looking for it, wasn't he? Yeah.
Totally. It was a bit of a con job. Ramsdale made some great saves. But I think we had better situations than them. Like, they went, even though they had a lot of the ball in the second half, for 25 minutes, they never got near the goal. It was only the onslaught near the end. And if I had a mallet, I'd take it to Firmino's head at this stage. Because I told you last week I didn't want to see him on the team sheet. I mean, it's one thing Salah scoring against us. He scores against everybody. But Firmino doesn't. He just scores against us. And as soon as I saw him coming on, I said, here is this narco lookalike coming on now, and we are going to suffer, And he's a good player, Firmino,
Yes, yeah.
But I mean, that hairstyle doesn't do anything for me, and it's all wrong.
What did you make of the Saka and Arnold situation, Eamon?
It's just an incident, but you can't. I mean, people said last year that the Arteta Klopp incident got the crowd up, and just because the crowd get whipped up into a frenzy, you can't just say that that's what decided the match. What decided the match was the first goal that they got, and we didn't defend that properly because Martin Odegaard didn't track Andy Robertson back. If you look where Gabriel was with Salah, he was in a good position, but because he's a left-sided defender, his body was turned around the wrong way. In fact, if that had been Holding, he would have been facing the right way and probably would have got a right bill to it. Do you know what I mean? These things happen. But we didn't, and I think Arteta's interview afterwards was very, very honest about what happened. He wasn't at all pleased with the way we conceded ground in the second half. But look we weren't playing against Bournemouth. We were playing against a Liverpool team that racks up 90 points every season. Yeah. And they're capable of doing that. So, look, people will say, "Oh, well, that's the title race swung and all that." I'm not so sure about that. Everybody's assuming, "Oh, well, City will now get maximum points in every game." Will they? Will they?
No, I don't think they
will. They beat Bayern Munich over 2 legs, and then they get stuck into a Champions League semi-final. Will they get maximum points? I'm not so sure they will. And let's not assume that we'll just go up there and get beat. Right? I'm not so sure we will, because we were brave yesterday. We were brave in our approach to the game, the way we started it, right? And we were brave to hang on at the end, And if bravery means your goalkeeper pulls out heroics, he's one of the 11 on the team, So.
Yeah, because Saka had a chance, didn't he? Cross for Jesus. I think it was when we were 1-0 up, and he does narrowly miss at the back post. It's just these fine margins that can swing a game. But to go 2 up at Anfield in half an hour really impressed me. I thought we were really unlucky, being honest, to have drawn it. To say that coming out of Anfield shows how far we've come.
But goals change games, Jonathan, and the first goal was the changer.
Oh, but yeah, right. And when the time it happens,
if we'd have seen that out to half time, the second half would have been a completely different show.
yeah.
You know?
I was just thinking that before we came on. Actually, Eamon, when I was watching the highlights again on Sky, if we got in at 2-0 at half time, I think we would have hung out. You know, I think it would have been.
There would have been a totally different rhythm to the game.
Yeah.
Had we come out 2-0 up, you know?
Yeah, the heads kind of dropped a bit when they got that goal. Yeah, but we stuck at it. You know, we didn't really have many chances in the second half. No, but we, that chance in the last minute, if the ball had met Saka just an inch or two earlier, it would have been the winner. Yeah, so small margins, but look, point gained, I think, and I think it's going to be proof vital in the title run-in. Ian, thanks for coming on to the show this week. How did you see the game yesterday?
Yeah, I thought it was a game of two halves, really. Look, there was a lot of kind of moments that happened in the game that you can kind of say were big moments that changed the game, or that you could kind of stick out. I kind of feel sorry, if I'm honest. I know we kind of mentioned it about the Granite Xhaka moment. I think Jack has been immense all season, and I think it's a bit harsh. Like, I've seen a couple of comments being mentioned that the game was lost because of him, and if he hadn't made that incident, we would have won the game. I think that's a load of BS, if I'm honest. I think, look, there's 11 players on the pitch. That incident, yes, okay. Like, whether we conceded 70 seconds afterwards or 70 minutes afterwards makes no difference. Look, Eamon mentioned it as well. We're not playing with our strongest defensive back four, Joe. So look, you deal with the cards that are dealt with you. And look, I think, as we kind of mentioned, if this happened, like if we got a draw in August, we'd be raving about it, saying this is a fantastic result. Look at the teams that have come to Anfield and left with nothing. I mean, like, City went there and came away with nothing. United got their absolutely ass handed to them there, and look, I think a 2-0, and okay, you don't get the 3 points when you score 2 goals in Anfield, and we hadn't scored there for quite a long time. It's hard to take, but I have to commend the players. I thought they were immense. I really, really did. I thought they were very, very brave in going for it at the start. They could have played defensive and just tried to grind it out. I think Martinelli had a fantastic game, I think, as well. Very unlucky near the end that the pass to Saka didn't kind of work out. But look, games can change, games can turn. I really don't. I'm finding it very hard to kind of fault them, in the sense that, look, it was like silly errors. Like Zinchenko, getting nutmeg near the end, that comes down to fitness. Not you can get lucky, you can get he blocks it, and then fortunately he can go unlucky and they get the goal. But no, look, I think overall there's a lot of positives to be taken from that. Anfield is not an easy place to go.
No.
Yeah. And I think we really started well. I think there's a lot of positives we can take into that, especially for the intensity that we're going to be going into when we play City in the Etihad. That intensity is going to be skyrocketing, because I personally think City they're not going to win every single game. They're not. That's just, it's naivety to anybody that thinks that. From an Arsenal perspective, I can't stay here and say Arsenal are going to win every single game. Nobody can. There's been so many twists and turns. But look, at the end of the day, we can only focus on what we do, and as it stands, it's still in our own hands. And that's the way I look at it. Yeah, look, people are saying we're going to go to City and lose. Yeah, they also said the same about us going to Anfield, and it didn't happen. This seems like a bad result to take. Yeah, because you're 2-0 up. But if we were 2-0 up against City in the Etihad and we draw 2-2, are they all going to be complaining about it? No, they won't. They'll be jumping around and celebrating like it's the best result in the world. So
that's true. Yeah.
You need to look at it in ways that you just take it game by game. The benefit for us, we just have the league. Do you know what I mean? We just have to take it game by game. Our system is simple. Premier League game, put 110% into it, and That's all we can ask of you. Whereas City, as Eamon kind of mentioned as well, they have some massive games. Especially when you add in the FA Cup. Like, people are thinking the FA Cup, they're going to steamroll it. Like, every game is going to take massive amount of energy out of you. And you could see it even in parts of the game. I actually watched the City game against Southampton. Yes, the scoreline like benefits them, but you could see Southampton were getting their chances. And look, Southampton are bottom of the table for a reason, fair enough. But when you look at the likes of the teams like Leicester, Brighton, Leeds, like, you look at the games that they've given us over the season, like, there's no way that you can say they're guaranteed wins for City. You can't. You know, look, there's going to be so many twists and turns. Like, I really don't think that it's going to like go down to those. I think it goes down to the last game, personally, if I'm honest. But look, we just.
But Ian, what they've also to contend with is the 2 games against Bayern Munich, right?
Yeah.
And they were probably lucky enough with the fixtures they had in and around them. But if they lose against Bayern Munich, there's no doubt that will have an adverse effect on them.
100%.
Because they're so obsessed with winning that trophy.
Yeah.
If they win against Bayern Munich, then they're 2 semi-finals, you know?
Yeah.
So, look, I mean, let's not worry too much about Man City, and let's worry about what we do. But, I mean, how far have we come that we went out to play at Anfield in the first half hour the way we did, right? Because I tell you what, like, those games are always over after 20 minutes.
Yeah, in the past few years, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we've come a long way, haven't we? Like, we're still in the process of, of the project, as they say, and we're probably maybe even a season or 2 ahead, so like, for us to be top is a shock, because after what we saw last season, finishing 5th, and the way we fell away in the last couple of months, I kind of feared the worst this season. This was,
games left,
Yeah, but you need to also look into it, take into account, like, as well. I know we've mentioned it before. Look, at the start of the season, you'd have taken your hand off to be here. Also, look at what they've had to come through. Jesus has been injured. We've lost, like, most of our key players throughout the season that Man City haven't, and we've stayed with them the whole way through. But, I mean, there's massive results that we've pulled off. And we've come through a lot of hurdles. I even go to the first game of the season playing Palace away. That was always a ground that we went to that was dodgy. Look at going away to Leeds. That was a really tight game.
Yeah, tight game, yeah.
I mean, there's loads of games, like the comebacks against Villa, Bournemouth. Like, you can see the fight in that team. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you can't really. You're taking it game by game. Do you know, they're fight they want to do it. Do you know,
the team has been terrific, right?
Yeah.
And yesterday, for a half an hour, they were majestic.
They were, right? Yeah.
Then we didn't defend the goal properly. The game changed. And in the second half, we ran into a Liverpool hurricane. And they're capable of doing that, right?
Yeah.
And the old Arsenal Butlers FC would have lost that game.
Absolutely.
But we didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a point game. Yeah. And the thing is, when we have slip-ups, as we've had very few over the league campaign, but when we have lost or drawn, we've come back really strong. We seem to hit a winning streak, particularly after the City loss in February. We went on 7 wins, and obviously yesterday, like, that's, what's that, 22 points,
I'll tell you something, Jonathan. If we don't win the title, it won't be because we drew 2-2 at Anfield. It'll be the likes of the Everton day that it didn't happen for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not. Everyone's putting it, like Carragher says, the result yesterday is going to be the one.
At the mind.
But like, I had to laugh. The minute Firmino scored, he says it's back in City's hands. Scott, I think
every time he walks into a bar, there's murder.
Go away and leave us alone. God Almighty, he's a pain in the arse. I mean, he makes Gary Neville seem like a tonic, and that is saying something.
Yeah. I don't think any of the Sky punditry are for Arsenal at all.
Flip-flops, to be honest. Like, they're literally all flip-flops. Because I remember when we lost to City, and they said, the league's over for Arsenal. The league, similar to what they're saying now. City went out, 4 days later, lost to Forest, and then or drew the Forest. I think they lost.
Yeah,
or drew.
that's right. They drew 1-1, yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the title's back in Arsenal's hands. Like they flip flop like you never believe.
Our reaction to the City defeat has been 7 wins and a draw.
Yeah,
It's incredible, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, and there's been tricky games over that period. Like, as you've said yourself, to come back against Bournemouth from 2 down to win 3, shows the spirit in the camp.
Those Sky pundits should be in the bleeding Rovers return.
So frustrating, dude.
Rating, Deirdre.
I got
Although I did laugh at Roy Keane's Roy Keane's analysis of the Andy Robertson and the linesman incident. It was good.
Yeah, the baby comment. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Better
like
concentrating on defending. No.
yeah, that was bizarre.
Baby.
yeah. Dare anyone mention the Saipan walkout? I would have loved that to be brought up, but no, look, it's silly. Like, Robertson shouldn't be going over to the lines.
Anyway.
Yeah. Eamon, who was your man of the match from yesterday?
Well, it's one of these ones that if you'd have asked me who was the man of the match after 85 minutes, the way they do on TV, it was Gabriel Martinelli. But Aaron Ramsdale got us the point yesterday, and it's him.
Yeah, hands down for me as well. Yeah, he's just exceptional. What a keeper. Yeah. Ian, your man of the match?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I was in the same position as Eamon. I thought Martinelli had a fantastic game, and I think if it stayed 2-1, he gets it all day. But I think for the way that Ramsdale pulled off, like if we win the league by a point, like that's going to be a massive couple of saves when you look back on it. Like I have to say he was immense, and like I have to give him man of the match for that. Like,
so Aaron Ramsdale followed closely by the linesman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he didn't even get a yellow card for the
Jackie Chan or whatever.
That was the most bizarre thing.
It's nice to see the linesman showing a bit of fight. No, I thought Martinelli and Saka destroyed Liverpool's fullbacks, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, for the first 40 minutes. So that ball, that cross for Jesus was just right on the money. That's just brilliant. Yeah, he's grown, and that's 14 goals, isn't it? Now he has this season.
Great finish too, though. Great finish too. He had to do a high leap for it and get some purchase on it, and he got up high and buried it right down where it was so low the goalkeeper didn't have time to do anything.
Yeah, he didn't have. Yeah, it was perfectly placed. Yeah, 3 goals, 2 games as well. And Jesus has arisen on Easter Sunday, thank God. So that result leaves us top still. And that leaves us with 73 points, with Man City with 67, who have a game in hand. So it really is making it interesting now. The result is on it. I'd probably agree with Ian. I think it probably will go down to the last game of the season, which would make it really exciting. But look, for the first 30 games, they've given us fans something to believe in, that we're going in the right direction again, and exciting times lie ahead, I think.
Yeah, well, I said on last year's podcast that if we wanted to guarantee Champions League football, no team on less than 76 points hasn't got Champions League. So it was 2 points per game, and we've 73 from 30. That'll tell you our trajectory,
Yeah, it's been a great season, yeah. And as Ian says, with the injuries that has happened over the course of the season, we've really moved on. We've really done well to keep up this momentum, yeah. Just before we move on to the West Ham game, just a rundown of the fixtures we've left just for the viewers. It's West Ham on Sunday, followed by the Friday night game against Southampton on the 21st. Man City's the Wednesday then of that next week on the 26th. Chelsea is probably going to be, we were saying before we came on air, it looks like it's the Tuesday in May, isn't it?
We don't know, so let's not. There's talk about it in the Tuesday.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just a bit disappointing, all right, but we'll confirm that, Henry. So it's at the moment it's the 29th, which is a 5:30 kickoff. Newcastle then is a Sunday, May the 7th. Brighton's a Sunday, May the 14th. Forest hasn't been confirmed yet, but it's down for Saturday. And then obviously the last home game is 4:30 on the 28th. So 8 to go and 8 big cup finals. I think we all agree. We move on to the preview West Ham on Sunday at the London Stadium. It's at 2 o'clock, this one, live on Sky Sports. The last meeting we had was on Stephen's Day. It was over at this one at the Emirates. Saka, Martinelli and Nketiah got the goals for a great finish by Nketiah. And we were 1-0 down actually at half time. Chupan Rama penalty, but we really came out. I think he scored 3 in, I think it was 15-20 minutes, and that was the game put to bed. The last game at the London Stadium was 2-1 last May. Holding scored, and Gabriel and Jared Bowen scored for West Ham. So they're I think they've got 30 points at the moment. They're 3 points above the relegation zone. They got hammered there 5-1 last Wednesday against Newcastle United. They're an odd team, West Ham. They can get hammered in one game, then the next performance they can be great. You know, they just seem to be very up and down performance wise. I suppose I'll take that West Ham to be very tough to be contained. You know, to be tough to break down. But I can see I think we've enough in us. We've been good away from home this season. I'll probably go for a 2-0 myself. I think we'll have enough to beat them in the end. But Eamon, how do you see the game going on Sunday?
Well, you know, I hate making predictions in a hex. But no, I don't. Like, I hate even uttering the words "we'll win" because I just feel it's like the Pink Panther with a swarm of bees over his head. Everywhere he moves, the bees come with him. But I was out on Good Friday with my brother-in-law out in his house, and he's a season ticket holder at West Ham because he lives in London and here, you know. Yeah. And I asked him about the 5-1 Newcastle, and he said, "Sure." He said, "Well, we're playing football that's way, way out of date. The manager doesn't know how the modern game works, and we are terrible. You know, where are our points going to come from?" He says, "We really need to beat Fulham at the weekend against the head." And they did, in fairness to them. But he's not there. He goes every game. He's season ticket holder. So, you know, I won't give any kind of statistical or intellectual analysis on this one, other than to say, with 8 games to go, you're playing West Ham, who shipped 5 against Newcastle. You've got to go out there and beat them. So on that basis, I'll take us to do a number on them by 3-1 or something.
Yeah, you'd expect us to go there and win. Just to get a result now, just to get victory. It's vital, you know. It doesn't matter how we would do it. We'll come out with 3 points. Ian, how do you see the game going on Sunday?
Yeah, like, I mean, I've seen the highlights of a few West Ham games over the last while as well, and seen Newcastle absolutely tearing them apart.
Yeah.
And like, for the quality that we have, and just for the performance of how we cut through Liverpool in that first half as well, like, there's too much quality there for us not to really win this game. I really do feel that this, if we're being serious here about challenging for the title and grabbing it, these are games you have to just murder. You have to just kill it. Like, you want to be closing this off in the first half if you can. You know, you want to be. These are games that you hope that you don't have to have your main players playing 90 minutes. That you could have the game home by about 70, 80 minutes and start taking them off, kind of game. But look, I think we actually have a benefit as well. Okay, now we'll get on with it, as Eamon says, focus on ourselves. But Man City do play before us, so there could be a potential benefit there if that result goes in our favour. Do you know what I mean? That there's more kind of a push on that. Look, we have to win regardless.
Yeah, it
make
does. Gives you an incentive to win
it
in.
does
Yeah,
give you that little bit more of an
Yeah,
incentive.
does, yeah.
Score prediction. It's not been particularly great at them in the past, as previous shows we've done will show. But
Another
yeah,
donation's coming out here.
the donation incoming. But yeah, no, look, I think honestly, I feel there's going to be goals in it. I'd say, yeah, possibly 3-0, 3-1 maybe. But look, I couldn't care less if it's 1-0 and it goes off someone's backside. Like, I really don't care. We just have to win the game whatever way possible, and we move on to the next one.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd say what's going to happen is there's going to be an emergency transfer window for 20 minutes, and Firmino is going to sign on loan for West Ham.
yeah, just to piss us off.
I'm sick of him.
More, yeah. 10 Premier League
sick of
goals
him.
against one
I'm
team.
done with him, you know.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, Amy, you put the mockers on it last week when you said, Firmino.
The mockers on it, just stating the fact, like, you know.
Maybe Saka can do us a favour and get Declan Rice to score an own goal, seeing their busy mates.
Yeah, it's looking good as well, him coming to us in the summer. I looked on today there on Twitter. He says he preferred us over any other team.
I don't buy into any of that stuff. No.
Do you not think he'll join? Or is it just speculation?
There'll be an auction for him. It depends on who's going to pay silly money. Like,
Chelsea probably showing 100
let's
million.
not have another Casino, Mudryk. Yeah, I'd say from what I know, from what I do know, he is keen to come. You know.
Yeah.
But so was Mudryk. So you know, it's very seldom down to the player.
Yeah. The only difference I would say with Mudryk to Rice has proven it in the Premier League. That is the difference. Is he worth 100 million? I don't think so. That is what it's being quoted. Yes. But look,
he's not worth anywhere near 100 million because he doesn't get turned.
But look at it is if West Ham do get relegated, let's say, there's no way in hell he's going to go for 100 million anyway. He's not like.
Most of Declan Rice's passes go to the fullback.
Yeah.
Whereas Thomas Partey gets thrown. Yeah.
The only time he did throw Eamon was when England came on. He was quick on the turn there.
No, you see, this is where. No, but he's young enough. You see, I'd like to sign him because he's young enough to be coached properly.
I think, why wouldn't you come to a team that's on the upper trajectory like ourselves? You know,
why coach him in a team that has a superb coach?
Yeah, so-called big name manager. Yeah.
If you look at what Arteta is doing for their wide players, he's made Saka and Martinelli 2 world-class wide players.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, world-class name is and that's amazing to say within 2 or 3, isn't it? Like to say that.
Those 2 boys are world-class, you know.
Yeah, they're going places. Yeah.
Anyway.
We
got
you. Yeah. Yeah, so we're going for an away victory there on Sunday. That's we move on. Arsenal.com player the month went to Leandro Trossard. Who had 5 assists in March. I think we'd all agree. Probably a fair shout. He had a great month. Probably would have liked him to see him to start yesterday, being honest, you know, considering the form he's been in.
He was never going to start yesterday, Jonathan. He was never going to start that game yesterday.
I think he probably deserved to start, but that's just my, it's a bit wrong. He deserves to start at some stage, and everybody deserves things. But this is what you have when you have a really good team. No, this is what you have when you have a really good team. Our front three. I'd advise anybody to read an article that was in the Sunday Times yesterday, and it's about our front three. That they've taken over the mantle of Mane, Firmino, and Salah. That they're the best front three in the division, right? And that's Martinelli, Jesus, and Saka. Trossard happens to be absolutely brilliant, right? But that front three is devastating. Now, the thing about Trossard is he'll always get games because he's so good in different positions, you know? He can drift in as a false 9, he can go out on the right and go out on the left, and all of that. So,
I wouldn't have any sympathy for him for yesterday, because I genuinely feel he was being held back as the one. Out of them 4 players before the start of the game, you don't know how the game is going to go before it starts, right? But out of them 4 players, he's probably the one that coming off the bench would have made the most difference.
Yeah, Trossard. Yeah.
So I think that's what the decision was about,
Yeah, he scored a hat trick there as well. Earlier on the season.
He did, yeah. But
Yeah.
what
He
I'm
did.
saying is
I don't think he had enough time, to be honest, to make an impact. I think the game had gone probably a bit far off. Yeah.
Well, apart from all that, but I mean, if we start the Trossard, we just agreed that Martinelli and Saka are world instead of Gabriel Jesus. There's your dilemma. What was Gabriel Jesus like yesterday?
That either risen from the gods.
There you go. It's a great dilemma to have, though, isn't it?
It is. No, yeah. Compared to other seasons when there wasn't a headache to look on the bench, there's 3 or 4 players now you can look to.
Don't forget, we've still got Yaya Sanogo to come back.
I think Igor Stepanov is looking for a call up as well.
Igor Stepanov and Yaya Sanogo are back training, yeah.
I like Sanogo. There's a picture of him, actually. I think it was Lee Judges had a picture of him. He was actually in the stands for the last home game. He actually watched the match. Yaya Sanogo, he's with Lee Judges.
He spent most of his career in the stand.
He actually made a donation to the Dublin Arsenal podcast. No, I can see Ian making another donation again on Sunday.
He made it. I'll tell you what. He'd very in trouble, right? But we wouldn't have won the 2014 Cup final against Hull without him.
Yeah.
He came to cause havoc,
Yeah, he caused havoc, didn't he? Yeah, in fairness to him, yeah. I was at the Emirates Cup that year when he had signed, and I think he scored 2 or 3 against Benfica. He ran them ragged, and I said, "Jeez, we have a player here." And then he just went, for some reason, sometimes it works, sometimes
his knee was never right. Anyway, the youths.
Eamon's getting his P45 again. Big shout out to Jack Wilshere. It's the under 18s.
Oh, I'm getting the chicken out of the oven, mate.
I'd be getting the P45 after.
I'm getting the chicken out of the oven, pal.
It'd be sent through a fax machine shortly. Big shout out to Jack Wilshere. 2-1 win against Man City in the semi-final. Miles Lewis Skelly scored a last-minute header against him, so well done to Jack Wilshere. That final's on. It's penciled in for the 29th at the Emirates, but I don't know. It's a strange decision to put it there, but we'll see what happens there. But no, just a big shout out to Jack Wilshere. I think we both agree. Nice to have on the CV, isn't it? A good gooner there. What do you make, Vadine? Pretty short, briefly.
Yeah, well, look, I think Jack Wilshere, he's had an unfortunate career. Bless him, he's had the talent there, but it just injuries caught up with him. Unfortunately, it just happens. It can happen to players in their career that injuries kind of stumble there, like where they could be. But look, I think for him, it'll give him, I suppose, something of an Arsenal kind of success, if that makes sense. But no, look, I'm delighted for him. I think he does have a good football mind about him. But look, it's a youth. It's if anything for Arsenal for the future, the better the youth we have, players we have coming through. Like I'm all here for it. Like when you look at the youngsters we've brought through, Smith Rowe, Saka. Like I mean, that number 7, like I can't remember who his name, but like he's like a Saka Junior. Like the way that he can just curve in around defenders. Like there's a lot of great players coming through.
Yeah, I see that actually.
Positive to see, like
Eamon, what was your take on it? Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you win or lose these things. It's how many players can you see that have the stuff to make it, right? And you have to remember about Arsenal. Our academy is not just about getting through. academy, if you look at the documentary about Hale End, it's about getting the lads who don't make it fixed up in life, or fixed up with other clubs, or fixed up doing other things. So we do it the right way, right?
Yeah, we didn't leave no one behind.
And we under Mertesacker, there's a very, very, very good system and structure in place. And I'm delighted for Jack, because I always felt that Jack, as a player, was reckless to a fault, in that he was so good that he just carried the ball that little bit too far before he released it and got himself broken up so many times. He was a terrific player. Reckless to a fault. You know, bravely reckless, if you know what I mean, right? Reckless to a fault. And his career kind of, as many players do, petered out after the Arsenal. And I'm delighted to see him back at the club. And I think you're right. I think he has a good football brain. He understands the game, that guy. And he played in the middle of the park with Cesc Fabregas. So, you know, I think he's full of the right stuff. So I'm delighted to see a bit of success there. But I don't get too carried away with whether you win the under-18s cup or not.
Yeah,
it's a bit like
it's who comes through.
Football. In Gaelic football, you win a minor All-Ireland, you know, and you think 15 of them going to come through. You're looking at 2 or 3 players coming through, and hopefully the rest getting fixed up either with other football clubs or in life, you know. So
and to every success to the under-18s, and hopefully to go on to win the cup final. Anything
before I go, I just want to make an announcement that Bows have now stretched their lead at the top of the table by winning up in the Brandywell.
Here, 21 points now, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah. Up the Bows,
Up the Bows.
The Shelburne and Sligo score at the moment.
Up the Shells. I just like to give a shout out to our other contributor, Charlotte Brown. If you can give a listen to her podcast, Vic Acres Wonderland. She has her own podcast there, so give it a like and listen there. As always, you can catch our show on YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Check out Beyond the Last Man with Martin, Balon Sports Direct. Give them a look. That's our new sponsor. And check out our friends at justarsenal.com. Like to thank Ian and Eamon, as always, for your contribution, lads. Thanks again. And Eamon's going to sing us out again. Here we go, Eamon.
Are we singing now? Was somebody going to join me this time?
Ian, are we joining in? Are we?
Of course.
There we go.
Stamford Bridge and Old Trafford, no one can say the same. Mikel Artezami, we're all through. We'll sing it on the North Bank. This is not the Beach Boys, lads. And on the North too. Keep the faith, everybody. Good talking to you. All right.
See you next Monday, lads. Thanks for joining me.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye.
Good luck.